That was quick.
Dragons. This was meant to be the first major saga of Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, started way back in 2014, over 10 years ago, by Horde of the Dragon Queen. I have made it no secret that I have opinions about Horde of the Dragon Queen, and I am not the only one. What was meant to be the first part of an epic saga is now remembered as one of D&D 5th edition's worst books, and in my opinion, it is the worst book for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. I really don't love Horde of the Dragon Queen, but I've never truly explained why. I've answered the question every now and then, given vague responses, but today, it's Dragon Week. And with this time of talking about dragons, and adventures around dragons, and books around dragons, I thought I'm gonna break up all this positivity with a little bit of messiness. I'm going to finally get all of my hatred of Horde of the Dragon Queen out there in the world, and finally let it go. Maybe all the bitterness, and resentment, and desire for blood I feel whenever I look at this fuck. I just hope I can move on. So, in any case, today we are going to be looking at Horde of the Dragon Queen. The good and the really, really bad, and seeing, is it really as bad as I think it is? Without further ado, what the hell? Before we even get started with Horde of the Dragon Queen, I think it is important to say what I think a good D&D module is. And that is a book that's good out of the box. Like seriously, I don't think I need to explain this, but according to some of the comment sections on certain D&D reviews, it's absolutely something I need to explain. Look, I don't care if a book is good with modifications or homebrew, or if you're not a lazy dungeon master. Like, I'm sorry, I don't think it's lazy if a DM just wants a book to be good. I'm paying money for a product. I want the product to not suck at a baseline. I shouldn't need to fix your book for you. But anyway, opening up the book, we have something that upsets me right there, page 1 on the credits. Do you see what's upsetting about these credits? It's that little bit there, right there. Kobold Press? Kobold Press are the ones who worked on this book with Wizards of the Coast? My god, Kobold Press sponsor like every single D&D creator. If you're in this space at all, you know about Kobold Press. It's like finding out the popular kid in high school has the tragic backstory of sandblasting litters of puppies in his free time. In any case, I'm sure Kobold Press books are wonderful, but this is not a great spot on their track record. Moving on, we've got Chapter 1. Green Nest. Green Nest is under attack by the Cult of the Dragon, and this is a really strong start. A lot of D&D adventures take a little bit to get to the point, but here we have an adventure that starts the players right in the action. Cities on fire, cultists in the streets, dragons up above. It's epic! Except I'm kind of lying to you because that's not how the adventure starts. Instead, the adventure inexplicably starts on the road outside of the town getting attacked, giving the players the very obvious option of not running into the death trap of a town that's currently under attack by a straight-up adult blue dragon and a vast army of cultists. Like, obviously, the players are going to run into those walls and try to save lives because that's the right thing to do, and that's also where the content is. But why not just start the players inside the walls of Green Nest? Have some roleplay in the town, get to know some NPCs before a blue dragon soars in from the skies and attacks. That would be startling, frightening, terrifying. Instead, the players start outside of this town that they probably don't really care about. It's just inexplicable, and it's something that you're going to see a lot throughout this book. Like, they have an opportunity to do something cool, and then they just don't, for some reason. But anyways, I'm assuming the players go into the town, because if they don't, the story doesn't start. And here, we see another problem. The players aren't really supposed to fight against that adult blue dragon sailing around the sky. However, the adult blue dragon's army of cultists are also a problem in and of themselves. You see, this opening chapter, it's designed like nothing I've ever seen before. Well, look, I found out that Horde of the Dragon Queen was designed before they finalized player power, which means all of the cultists and kobolds that you're going against, they are way too powerful for the player characters. Depending on how you roll on these random encounter tables, you could absolutely get a TPK right here, right at the start of the adventure. And guess what? The adventure actually encourages you to roll on this BS random encounter table multiple times, drastically increasing the chances that every single one of your player characters is going to get turned into a human shish kebab. This is a very frustrating part of many D&D adventures. A lot of them have janky encounter balance, but this isn't just janky, man. I mean, this is the opening of the adventure, and it's almost a destined TPK if you don't plan things carefully. But anyway, you save who you can save, you hopefully don't TPK as you run through this burning city, and eventually you encounter Cyan Wrath, a half-blue dragon warrior and servant of the dragon cult. Yeah, I know. Cyan Wrath. It's half-blue dragon. Very subtle. But anyway, the guy with the dumb name challenges the players to a 1v1, and they can accept. And Cyan Wrath then... instantly one-taps them with the match. Like, seriously, part of this adventure is a railroaded boss fight where the boss will almost definitely mark a player character. In fact, it encourages you to hit a player character again, even when they're down, knock them down to that saving throws, only further increasing the frustration for the PC. That's just wonderful. You've already forced the player characters through a gauntlet of stupid encounters they may not get to survive, and then at the very end, put them up against a mini-boss who then, adventure as written, tries to humiliate them. Awesome. Hey, by the way, if you do manage to kill Cyan Wrath in this fight, he's just replaced by a basically identical half-dragon in a later chapter, so that's great. Chapter 2 is where you start fighting back. You head into the raiders' camp to go save some prisoners, one of which being a quest giver whose name I can't remember for the life of me. Right, Leosin. Leosin is a character who is supposed to be one of the main NPC quest givers, but just like all of the main NPC quest givers, he has the same flavor as freaking soy milk. He is so boring, and he sticks around for very little time in order to bond with the player characters. Like, seriously, in my opinion, you need to bond your player characters with NPCs. I don't think it's necessary for every single game, but it's very rewarding for me as Dungeon Master to roleplay with the player characters through NPCs. But I love it when they fall in love with these characters that I have either created or I'm playing from a module. So the fact that this book, as written, goes out of its way to send NPCs away after only a few pages of them existing is just ridiculous. I understand that some of them come back in the later book, Rise of Tiamat. However, I will also point out that most of them do not. But anyway, Leosin, he's one of the NPCs. You find him after he gets the crap kicked out of him by some dragon cultists. I assume that you save him because this book really wants you to do that, and if you don't do what the book wants, it offers very little alternatives. But anyway, Leosin buggers off to go report necessary information about the dragon cult. Don't think about following him because, again, that's not what this adventure wants you to do. Instead, you are going into a cave with Chapter 3. Guys, this book is my waking nightmare. Thankfully, I have a sponsor to save me. This week's videos are sponsored by Peku. If you guys are fans of the channel, you know about Peku. We've used their maps on every single actual play, and for good reason. They are absolutely gorgeous. We've just started using their tokens too. I rebuilt my entire token library to exclusively use Peku tokens because, yeah, they're that good. But they've got something new for you. The Cheipeku Complete Fantasy Bundle. No longer do you need to subscribe to a bunch of different services. It's all in one place. 6,000 high-res battle maps, 2,000 hand-drawn scenes, and 300 plus tokens for your NPCs and heroes. All updated every week. Guys, I have been a loyal Cheipeku customer for years, way before they sponsored me. I haven't regretted a penny spent, and neither will you. That's a promise. If you guys are interested, you can head down into the description down below or in the pinned comment where you can pick up the Cheipeku Fantasy Bundle. As always, supporting our sponsors does support us. Thank you so much to Cheipeku for sponsoring today's episode. Without further ado, let's get back to the tea. Chapter 3 is the Dragon Hatchery. There's a cave underneath Cultist's base camp, and you need to go down there. Like I said, adventure wants you to. It's a dungeon crawl. You should be level 3 by this point, and I'll be honest, man, a level 3 dungeon crawl can be pretty challenging. I do play with a min-maxing party, so I have done lower level dungeon crawls. My player characters are very much used to that and accustomed to being starved for resources. However, if you're running this book for people who aren't very experienced with D&D, a level 3 dungeon crawl might be a lot to ask for. However, I will say that it's not nearly as egregiously terrible as the opening encounters in Green Nest. But while the encounters are not ruthlessly badly designed and overpowered, they are still really bland. You're fighting kobolds, you're fighting guard drakes, you're fighting cultists, you're fighting guards. Again and again and again and again throughout this adventure. Like, seriously, I saw those names and terms bolded in this book so many times because they are the main bulk of the cultist forces. You're going against samey stat blocks over and over and over again, and the book doesn't really try to break it up all that much. Like, sure, they'll toss in a swarm of rats every now and then, but the bulk of the enemies you fight are samey kobolds, samey guards, samey cultists. Maybe they'll swap out a spell here or there, but that's it. These fights are really bland. Moving on to the enemies themselves, I will also say that the map design in this book is not wonderful. I'm not expecting Cheipeku maps because that's not really what D&D books usually do. A lot of them are pretty simple, just top-down grids. But, man, these are very uninspired. And with the exception of the Dragon Shrine that you fight Cyanrath in, a lot of locations are kind of bland. Well, even the Dragon Shrine doesn't really evoke much from me. But in any case, you fight Cyanrath, or if you killed Cyanrath earlier, you fight an identical half-dragon, and you kill him. So if you got humiliated earlier, congratulations, you have your run back. Woohoo! After killing Cyanrath, you see that there's a shrine to Tiamat. Yeah, plot twist of the century, Tiamat is the big bad evil guy of this book. The dragon cult is trying to bring her back, led by a half-black dragon named Rezmir. She is not really present throughout most of the book. She's actually the big bad evil guy of this section of the adventure. And yeah, she doesn't really, like, show up at all. But in any case, you do have to stop her. Unfortunately for you, she's went on a backpacking trip across the entire countryside, and it's time for you to follow her. Which leads me to chapter 4. Chapter 4 is my 13th reason why. I hate this chapter. Everybody who's read War of the Dragon Queen knows about chapter 4 of this book. It is one of the worst things which the Coast has ever put out. You need to follow the dragon cult across the countryside all the way up to Waterdeep. It is a really long journey. In fact, they lay it out for you. The journey is 2 months. Now, what do you do across that massive 2-month journey? Well, instead of peppering in interesting side quests for the players to embark upon, the book instead has a random encounter theme and tells you as the Dungeon Master that for each day of travel, you are rolling a d20 on the random encounter table. And that means like 40 to 50 random encounters before we can move on with the adventure. Oh my god. But there's not actually 40 to 50 random encounters written down. Instead, there's only a handful. Most of the time when you roll a d20, nothing is going to happen. But still, isn't that worse? Like, roll a d20 for this day of travel. Oh, I rolled a 5. Okay, nothing happens. Moving on. Roll a d20 for the next day of travel. And so on and so forth. God, that sounds absolutely agonizing. But don't worry, on this long and arduous journey, you'll find such thrilling random encounters as a couple bird monsters attacking you. You find a crowded inn, assholes, some doppelgangers. Like, seriously, every single one of these encounters is meant to be a complete one-off. Nothing interesting or in-depth happening because they're supposed to be things that you can just get over with. They're time wasters, and that means that they're bad. Adventure hooks that are meant to just waste time should not be used in an official module. How was this printed and thought to be acceptable? Through all these random encounters, you do also have 20 NPCs that you can sprinkle out the journey. I've seen some critics talk crap about this section, and I get it, but I actually think this in theory is a good idea. I like the idea of a book putting in a bunch of random NPCs that your party can meet throughout the adventure. Yeah, you have the really, really important NPCs like Irina and Curse of Strahd, for example, but what about the day-to-day townsfolk? If you give me a paragraph and then some bonds, flaws, traits, etc., I mean, I can get a lot out of them. So you'd think that I'm actually happy with this section. Well, the problem is, you haven't accounted for the fact that the designers of this book spent more time sniffing glue and getting high than they did writing good content, because for the love of God, every single one of these 20 NPCs is boring as hell! Wittress is as honest and courageous as the mercenaries come. She has spent many years in the south, and now wants to see the snows and frozen seas of the far north, and experience what truly cold wind feels like. Wow. What a fascinating character. She wants to feel cold. Like, seriously, I'm not really asking for much. Critical Role's Exandria source books very often just gave me a few sentences, then traits, bonds, flaws. I had so much to work with just that content. It's not even that much text. In many cases, it was just as much text as written for these NPCs. But the fact the information they give us for these characters in Horse Drag Queen is just so boring makes those NPCs boring. NPCs whose entire personality revolve around being angry, an NPC who's a gossip, who got kicked out of the town for some drama. What drama? Oh, I don't know, the book doesn't say. An NPC whose entire personality is green. Like, seriously, she's just green. Her name is green and she's colored green. Why is she colored green? I don't know. The book doesn't know either. The book doesn't care. No one cares. This is stupid. Oh my god. This chapter is also terrible because throughout this adventure, you're traveling to famous locations, right? Like, one of the locations you visit is a frickin' Baldur's Gate. Like, yeah, that Baldur's Gate. And you know what you do in Baldur's Gate? Not much. Baldur's Gate has 3 paragraphs of information and then you just move on. You get the plot relevant stuff and then you're gone. Like, seriously, that's what we're doing in the legendary city of Baldur's Gate? Have got to be joking. Also, I think this might be a good time for me to just bring this up because, yeah, what other time am I gonna bring it up? This adventure is stupid, railroady. I made some passive-aggressive comments about it earlier, but I am serious. If you don't do exactly what the book tells you to do, you don't really have many other options as a dungeon master. Like, at least with Curse of Strahd, you have a variety of locations conveyed to the tarot readings that you can sprinkle out the adventure. Here, you don't have much, man. And again, with Curse of Strahd, Thrive of the Frost Maiden, the encounters that you have throughout those books, they are actually interesting. Here, it's the most bland, boring crap you could possibly think of for a D&D game. But hey, light at the end of the tunnel. Chapter 4 does end with the introduction of a really cool rogue character. After poking through your oatmeal with the blade of her dagger, the gnome lifts it out and shows you an oatmeal-smeared object resembling a tiny bee. She glances over her shoulder towards where the cultists sit at breakfast. It's a sliver of bone, she whispers, curled into a circle so you can swallow it into your mouth. school. I suspect they're in all. As she gets up and walks away, she asks, "Let's talk this." See, badass! That's what I'm talking about when I say I want cool NPCs. None of the characters in this book have really been memorable to me, but this is awesome. And then, she never shows up again. Like, seriously, everybody who talks about this book complains about this, but, like, I couldn't believe that they put this character in this book, they had her say some vague, scary stuff, and then she just buggers off. She just leaves. Again, coming back to the thing I said at the beginning, this book always has an opportunity to do something cool, and then they just choose not to. Chapter 4 is irredeemably terrible. Even when it has cool stuff, it screws it up. Moving on to Chapter 5. Chapter 5 is like 4 pages long. You are railroaded into a secret passageway for culture using to move gold, and that's it. So anyway, Chapter 6. Chapter 6 is Castle Neritar, and this is where the adventure really confused me, because at this point we reach a bunch of what are essentially side quests. Like, they're more connected to the main quest than those random encounters, let me tell you, and they're definitely longer and more in-depth, but each of the locations that you're going to visit from this chapter and the next chapter, Castle Neritar and the Hunting Lodge, they largely have their own self-contained plots that don't really have a bearing on the larger narrative. Like, seriously, this is what we should be sprinkling throughout that massive journey. Why is this content not there? It is frustrating that after all that filler, we just get to more filler that should have been the filler earlier. God. Anyway, Castle Neritar's main plot involves a bunch of lizard folk and a bunch of bullywugs. Frogs versus lizards. And, I mean, you're not really supposed to take a side. The side's been assigned to you. You're probably siding with the lizard folk, so good for you, man. But this chapter does have some redeeming qualities, like this bullywug guy. He has a pretty cool design. Most of the characters in this book, in my opinion, do not have cool designs. I think the character art in this book is very uninspired, but hey, this is neat. The castle is filled with lore and Easter eggs, but it's the kind of lore that I don't think is really helpful for adventures. It's the kind of lore I do love writing, random tidbits about the greater world. However, they're just not that big of a deal to the player characters, and they have very, very little bearing to the plot itself. Just the rule to the wise, your player characters probably don't care that much about these sort of random tidbits. Like, they're cool, but your PCs are almost definitely going to forget them moments later, which is why I'm very confused as to how Wizard of the Coast and Kobold Press, that was a good idea to have this be a focus of the castle, besides the lizard and frog conflict. But in any case,
is this still a hard-going second deck?
Dudes who have sided with the cult, and you continue the chase with that black half-dragon. You eventually find, inexplicably, in the basement of the castle, a teleporter that leads you right to the next location. My God, the railroad has never been more apparent. But anyway, I'm assuming you take the teleporter to the next location, because what other thing are you supposed to do? And that takes us right into Chapter 7. Chapter 7, The Hunting Lodge. Yet another day-in-the-life kind of encounter that probably should have been in that travel section. Here, I really want to exaggerate that the NPCs you meet throughout this adventure are one-offs that do not come back. There is a lady here that was denied for the dragon cult and wants to get her revenge. You could side with her, try to kill her. You can make a lot of choices with her story, and I think that's really, really awesome. However, she doesn't really have a greater bearing on the narrative beyond just this one individual chapter. Again, it's day in the life.
I want this
side
list.
quest adventures.
This is a really cool way to play Mikanko other than...
I'm thinking, why are we doing this?
This is a cool way to play Mikanko.
The story. Instead, this
Purist.
is the penultimate part of the adventure.
Which is hard going second and hope for the best.
This lady that we've never met before, whose story is brand new to us.
Probably just gonna try to protect themselves from Nibiru here.
With a lady, the grudge, who you can choose to kill if you want to. Who cares? Whether you get her help or not, it feels like it doesn't matter because this adventure is so painstakingly real. But anyway, with or without her help, you're moving on to Chapter 8. It doesn't matter, man. Skyreach Castle, which I multiple times throughout the outtakes called Skyloft Castle. I like The Legend of Zelda more than this book. Skyreach Castle is where you are supposed to fight Resmir, big bad of this campaign, and I want to make this clear. She does not show up at any point until this very encounter. Yeah, the big bad War of the Dragon Queen is completely absent from War of the Dragon Queen until you show up and you kill her. Like, she has zero personality, zero character beyond that. She's evil and power hungry and blah 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 blah. In fact, that's the description for every single boss throughout this adventure. Before you even reach Castle Skyreach, you fight this other guy whose name I completely forgot because he is just a blank slab that you just put your sword into and then he dies. All of the big bosses feel like this. At least that Cyan Wrath guy got the honor of 1v1ing me in that railroaded fight. I didn't like that, but at least it made it memorable. Throughout the rest of the adventure, though, you are encountering monster after monster, dude after dude, who just exists for you to put your sword in their head
to get rid of their own law.
Resmir, the big bad evil girl.
Holy shit, what the fuck?
I will say though, while I am doing all this complaining, I do think the castle itself is cool. It has some features. I really like this control panel section where you can inflict certain magical effects upon the entire castle with command runes.
Some of the Valor they discarded.
Gimmick. It's a kind of gimmick that was very much absent throughout much of the rest of the adventure. I felt like the
Herald, I guess,
of the dungeons, of the stat blocks, of the encounters, they were very boring. This is a book without much good story, and frankly,
they don't need to do anything other than this, honestly.
But it did surprise me every now and then. I will say that this castle does have some ridiculous encounters, like there's some vampires and vampire spawn, and by this point you are level 8, so you can definitely take them, but her fight does have some possible issues if your players aren't ready for her, but it's not nearly as much of an issue as the adult white dragon that's also chilling here, because yeah, your level 8 party can absolutely encounter a fully grown adult white dragon that's chilling in this castle trying to serve Tiamat's will. The book does explicitly state that he's stupid, and it's clearly supposed to be a Smog type encounter where you cleverly charm the dragon to let you go. However, the book also does give you advice on how to fight as the dragon, and it doesn't really, and in my opinion, it doesn't really make it clear enough that a level 8 party fighting an adult white dragon will probably result in death, in utter death. I just feel like this should be more of a priority, you know? That's just my opinion. But in any case, you fight your way through the castle, you kill the bad guys, and then you can either crash the castle into the mountain, or you can convince giants to help you conquer the castle and take it over for yourself. So, yeah, those are your two options. Crash the castle, or you can conquer the castle, but that's it. You can't stop the Dragon Cult, because you need this book to lead it to Rise of Tiamat, so the Dragon Cult are basically destined to get what they want. You get one of the Dragon Masks they need, damage their chances, but that's it. Tiamat is still absolutely going to rise because this railroad adventure needs to be railroaded to the next bit. And that's the end. Horde of the Dragon Queen. What could I even say? This is a painfully railroaded adventure, and that would not be a big deal. Like seriously, I have defended railroad adventures in the past, especially with pre-written books. You can't always predict everything, and if you want a one-shot, for example, it's gonna be at least a little bit linear. However, a linear adventure should be a good adventure. If you're not having to deal with 1,000 player choices, you should be able to write a more clean, awesome narrative, and that's not what we have here. This is anything but awesome. This narrative is boring, bland, filled with characters that you're gonna forget about. Any character that's memorable is tossed away like trash. The villains are utterly forgettable to the point where I barely even remember any of their names. The boss fights are badly designed. The encounters are either way too overpowered or they're just straight up bland. The art even lets me down. Seriously, is there anything about this book that's even remotely good? Whoa! You bastard! What the hell? What are you on? Your never-ending complaining brought me back to life. I mean, I've hated you for like 10 years, and you're just coming alive like now? It builds up over time. Okay, look. We can figure this out. How could you possibly hate me? So many DMs out there left me You use me as a framework to create amazing adventures. Who said I need to be good outside the box?
But like I said, a product that needs to be fixed isn't worth buying. I'm sorry, man.
I mean, you're not even a half-assed adventure. You're no ass. There is 0 asses on you at this very moment. It. First, you call me terrible adventure. Now you're calling me flat. I will kill you where you die! Calling it an orbital strike, Wood. Okay, I got it out of my system. Look, if you love War of the Dragon Queen, I think you're crazy. Seriously, I think you're crazy. There are so many D&D modules. Yeah, not all of them are great, but the vast majority of them are better than this. Like, I get it. Spelljammer is out there, but at the very least, Spelljammer has some decent art and a good concept. Yeah, I get it. Strixhaven was lacking on content, but at least Strixhaven had some creative romance options. This book is so painfully basic, along with lacking content, along with having a badly plotted story, along with being painfully railroaded, along with providing very little resources for general adventuring. Like, really, there's barely anything you can even harvest from this book. Barely any good stat blocks, barely any great NPCs. Like, I guess you could take some names, and that's it? This book is just not good, man, and that is why I will always despise it, especially since it was one of the first D&D books released. Like, this was a first impression on 5th edition. That's a miracle we survived this long. If you want great dragon adventures, I recommend you get Fizbins and just make one yourself, because you're going to be putting just as much work trying to make this crap into something good. Anyway, this was a long video. I had a lot to say, but I enjoyed myself, and I hope you guys enjoyed my ranting too. If you guys did, then
I want to play something a little more interactive. Can't go wrong with Blue Eyes. Anyway, yeah, I need that list. That list is good. Who the hell? What the hell is this? Blue Eyes? What the fuck? They have 3 negates, guys. not even gonna think. Why are they thinking? Okay. Wait, I feel stupid. I should have started with this, right? Special X. Chain link 1. Mirror logic. Chain link 2, X search. Does my deck have a way to balance anything? I don't think so. I have no choice but to run into the floating effect with Dark End. I guess I gotta deal with that now too. Let's see if we can get something good. It's in defense position. What are they doing? Okay, they are playing Blue Eyes. That is interesting. Guess I'm just gonna run more engine. Guess I'm just gonna go for more engine. Stop doing that. Oh no wait, its effects are negated, so it doesn't matter. Right. I win now. Isn't that annoying? Beautiful. What? Okay. Oh, I see. I don't get it anyways. Well, that seems only fair. Putting cards to the top sucks. Guess they really just don't have anything. At least in terms of hand traps. Oh. Yu-Gi-Oh! Dun, 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 dun.
There are 3 crucial steps to successfully incorporating a twist into your sessions of Dungeons & Dragons or similar tabletop role-playing games. 1. The twist must be hinted beforehand. 2. The twist must give to the players, not take away. And 3. The twist must be timed very delicately during your game session. So some of these points may appear to line up with what you know from fun twists in movies, TV, and books, but tabletop role-playing games are a very different animal, and those media twists often lead game masters to screw it up, boring or breaking their players' trust instead of creating a fun and memorable moment. But once you understand these 3 points, you'll be able to apply them to your own RPG campaign and feel like M. Night Shyamalan, does he even make movies anymore? Because I'm Bob, this is where we learn how to have more fun playing RPGs together, and, yellow. Okay, yellow. So on to crucial aspect of a twist, number 1. The twist must be hinted beforehand. For example, Grace and I have recently been watching a lot of CSI, yes, the early 2000s crime show in Las Vegas, and some episodes, not that many, but way too many, do this annoying thing at the very end where they not only solve the crime, but in one unpredictable stroke, deconstruct the killer's motive. We know why you killed her, but she's not the one who stole the money. You thought you killed your wife's lover and murderer, but it turns out her death was an accident. And that's a real example, Season 1, Episode 4.
Gotcha.
And these corny twists would be fine. They would be fun if there were clues. Or just clue. Yeah, the more the better, but at least a singular hint for the characters and the audience, or in our case, a hint for the characters and the players, so they have a chance to catch on, or just notice something, even if the hint seemed mostly mundane at the time. Then, during the big reveal, you can call attention to the hint or hints, or ideally, one of the players excitedly and a little reluctantly recalls that experience, but with this new information that gives it an entirely new meaning. What seemed sinister was in fact an act of kindness. What seemed like an accident was all too intentional. But just like the writers of an early 2000s crime drama, game masters might forget or even intentionally avoid dropping any clues for the players to pick up because they are so worried about the players figuring it out too early. Yeah, sorry to deconstruct your motive in a single stroke, but that's wrong.
Gotcha.
If you would rather your players feel dumbfounded by a sudden turn of events than have them feel elated because they saw it coming all along. Like if the fun part is lying to your friends at the table, you're playing the wrong kind of game. Like, this is a sidebar, but ever since I've truly embraced discovery, kind of going off-road as the GM, the game is a lot more fun. Worth a whole video, but in short, leaving more up to chance and planning only one session ahead leaves me open to easily incorporate and capitalize on my players' cool ideas. So for twists big and small, not only do they get to see it coming all along, but if I want, I can still add something extra. So there can be that reveal with an exciting moment of reluctant recollection. In a minute, we'll talk about my recent RPG twist gone wrong that inspired me to make this video. But first, we're going deeper into the sidebar so I can tell you about an amazing RPG resource for this kind of discovery-based play. Our awesome returning sponsor, the Western Reaches official setting for Shadowdark RPG. Already fully funded on Kickstarter, these 2 new books establish a sandbox setting built for discovery by the GM and players, as in, you don't have to memorize heaps of lore or sit through lore dumps. You get golden nuggets of setting info, and your adventures are what set it in stone. Over 200 keyed locations full of secrets and conflicts, big and small, deserts, forests, frozen isles, mountains, cities, and of course, a vast underground portion of the Shadowdark, combining and expanding on all 6 Cursed Scroll scenes and conveniently organizing every official character option into one of these 2 new hardcover books. Candidly, I bought this t-shirt myself, okay? And the Western Reaches seems like a fully actualized version of what I'd love to do with my scrim setting. So I'm excited to check this out. And if you are too, please use the link below. I don't get a commission, but it lets them know that I sent you. Thanks. Okay, good thing I recorded that part separately, because I gotta find the yellow. Okay, we can't be too far from civilization. The train is here. But to really solidify point 1 hints and bridge the gap to point 2, giving, not taking away, let me summarize my recent RPG twist gone wrong that inspired this video. And in the GM's defense, it was literally their second session ever running the game, so they clearly went at this like a book or movie. But here's the very short version of what happened. Beginning of the session, our party is told by a patron NPC to acquire a small ship. End of session. We finally acquire a small ship, and immediately afterward, with no dice rolls, our newly acquired ship is destroyed by a giant armada of pirates attacking the coast. And here's the thing, there were some great opportunities to drop hints about this potential danger to our eventually acquired ship during the session. One of the first things we did was pick a fight with a few of these pirates at a tavern because they were roughing up a bartender. Classic low-level D&D encounter, works every time, excellent setup, but when we head out back to throw down, an NPC comes out of nowhere, one-hit KOs one of the pirates, and the others run off in fear. So you didn't get to fight them or otherwise interact with them. Now, ignoring the pros and cons.
Almost time for dinner, so I can't really go for another ranked match. But I still want to play Yu-Gi-Oh, so let's just do some test hands, I guess. second hieratic seals would have been real nice. Oh, right. It takes a simple not to fall in line, but it takes everything to stand alone. Eventually, you may end up crossing a line before you understand that your rest is on your own belief. Oh, don't do just what you do. Just
life not to just exist. Gonna get my rights, so I fight back and resist. They wanna do it like they want me, make another me like who me. Only little do they know me, you can never hold me. Felt as if I was drowning in the water. The blade of pressure hits me, got my mind slaughtered. And I kept on shaking, telling myself that I'm so much stronger than before.
so much not in this ball, it's not in this ball. It's never gone this, so I gotta take a shot on the walk. Not gonna be back to who I was. Don't jump on it, that's one for the courage of the burden, not to surrender under any circumstances motivation. It's everything to stand alone.
Eventually you may end up crossing the line to fully understand that your ass is on your own. Believe I don't judge you just because of what you do. So don't judge me.
Right, untargetable. Well, it didn't matter if I didn't use Blue Eye Spirit Dragon.